Welcome to Cooking for Real. I'm going to make a butternut squash sweet potato soup. I've taken some of these things out of my cold storage. I have this lovely butternut squash and some sweet potatoes from my farm share. And for a little extra sweetness, I'm going to add what we're calling our private stock of applesauce. This is going to be another crock pot recipe, so hang in there. We're going to make it ahead, package it up and freeze it. It'll just get thicker and better over time. First things first, we're going to need to peel all of these vegetables. So now, just so you see that it's not peeled perfect, and a little bit of peel never hurt anybody, but what we're going to do is cut these down into reasonable sized chunks. By that, let me show you. They're about a 1/2 inch sized. Now, as for the butternut squash, while I do state that a little bit of peel never hurt anybody, I would like to make sure I get this down as clean as possible because there's nothing really appealing about the peel on a butternut squash. That being said, we also want this to be the same size as we are doing with the sweet potatoes. I did take all of the seeds out of that butternut squash, and I made a fair attempt at having equal parts of butternut squash and sweet potato. So into this pot, I am going to, once I find it, I'm adding only a cup of water. And I've already turned the crock pot on to low because this is going to sit and simmer for quite a while. And now I'm going to just add on top of that water my butternut squash, which is slightly harder than the sweet potatoes. This is just one medium-sized butternut squash. Okay, and then on top of that is going my sweet potatoes. And then on top of that, and it's only an aid to break it down at this point, it's not in there for seasoning, I am adding 2 solid pinches of kosher salt, lid on, and we'll be back in a few hours to check on it. We're a couple of hours in, and those sweet potatoes and butternut squash are softening up nicely. So now in goes the applesauce. Now that we've added that in, we're just going to stir it all together. And of course we are going to let this sit on low probably until tomorrow. Okay, it is the next morning, and this low temperature is actually kind of pumping. So what I have here is an immersion blender, and we're going to give this a stir. Everything is good and soft in here. It's definitely cooked. We're going to add milk, about a cup, just a cup of milk. And then let's blend. Now that this thing is actually almost done, and it should maybe simmer for another 1/2 hour once the seasonings go in, what I'm going to do is add a tablespoon of salt. 1, 2, 3. Quick conversion for you. 1 teaspoon is 1/3 of a tablespoon. So 3 of these equals a tablespoon, not 2. And I know who knows who I'm talking to. It is 3 teaspoons to a tablespoon. Now I'm going to put 1 teaspoon of each of these in there. 1 teaspoon of each. I have chili powder, cinnamon, cumin, garlic powder, nutmeg, and paprika. You can use smoked paprika if you like. It's not going to make that much of a difference in this soup. So we'll give it a quick stir by hand because these are powdery, and if I just dropped the immersion blender in there, it would just kick back up in my face. So all the spices are damp now. Let's get this blended in. It tastes like fall in a bowl. So I'm actually going to turn this down to warm. Give it about a half hour and then turn it off. Well, as we close in on bringing this recipe to a close, let me just remind you to go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It really helps me a lot. And if you could comment and share, I would appreciate that too. And on we go to the final step. This is going to make this soup super creamy. We're going to add an entire stick of butter. Yep, and as you can see, this already looks almost like freshly made apple butter, and that's the consistency we're going for here. So we're going to stir that in, and we're actually just going to give it 5-10 minutes to melt on its own, and we'll be back. Adding that butter really actually amplified the smell of this soup. Let's take a look here. You can see that's all melted in. Just incorporate that really nicely. There, that is cooked perfectly, and we are probably going to have a little bowl of that for lunch today. And then what I'm going to do is pop it in some pint-size mason jars and just keep it in the fridge for a little while so everybody can have some from time to time. Let's get a jar filled so you can see the beautiful color of this soup. And look at what we have here. It almost looks like a pumpkin pie filling, but the smell is amazing and the consistency is nice and thick. And there you have it, my very own recipe for a butternut squash and sweet potato soup. Thank you for joining me on Cooking for Real today. Well, we're getting a little ahead for Thanksgiving, and I'm not only cooking for real, I'm cooking for you.